Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Sounds of Stadia podcast for episode number 156 of your weekly Stadia show, where we round up all of the cloud gaming and Stadia news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games and up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. You join me, Chris, this week alongside my man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
Good evening.
Evening?
Maybe. Someone might probably listen to this on the evening.
What time is it where you? What time is it where you are though? You said evening.
It's about 3:20 at the moment.
3:20 in the afternoon.
Someone listening to this will be in the evening, and that was for you.
All right, that was for you. Much love from Chris and Richie. We have a great show, as I mentioned, lined up for you, talking about all the Stadia news, and there is a lot to talk about. We've got some new game announcements, we've got some big updates for Resident Evil Village and beyond, some teasers for technology and features rolling out, a couple of big games that unfortunately we don't think are coming, but we're going to break it down and talk about all that. Anyway, before we do get into all that, don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here at Helix Cloud Games, whether it's daytime, nighttime, evening, morning, or afternoon. We'll give you that great content. First looks, live streams, and more importantly, on the horizon, our 3rd year anniversary. We are celebrating on Saturday, the 1st of October. We've got a whole day planned of gaming, beers, pizza, giveaways, and fun to be had. Do join us, and do more importantly, let us know what you'd like to see us play in the comments description down below, or more importantly, in our Discord server, where tons of you are amazing Discordians over there. Sounds like an instrument, that, a Discordian.
Yeah. It's an instrument that cannot be played in tune.
Yeah, definitely. You guys over there, loads of chat. We get most of our stories for the actual show from that list. We'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas of what you'd like to see, what we'd like to play. We've got a couple of things in line, but again, it's always flexible. We're celebrating with you after all. We wouldn't be here without you and the wonderful support of all of our viewers and listeners. So yes, if you're listening along on Spotify or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts, or you're watching along right here on YouTube, thank you very much, because it's a big show. We can't wait to celebrate with you all. And 3 years is no mean feat in the world of content creation. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I'm doing some prep work behind the scenes. We've got some content preloaded. Exciting times ahead. And we'd like you to be involved with it. Just like our Helix Heroes, Richie, the wonderful people, over 50 of you out there, support the channel every single day by your patronage. And we had a big boon this past week, actually. We did a live stream, Richie, of The Crew 2. This past Thursday. Every Thursday we stream games right here on the channel with you, the community. And thanks to one Smock Jr. for not only spending the whole stream with us playing The Crew 2, driving across the United States in any vehicle we possibly could find, he was generous enough to actually donate some membership. So we have a ton of new Helix heroes who've joined the crew. And starting off with Smock Jr. right at the top, we had Alexander Gilbster joined us as well, dropped a few super chats in there, thank you very much. Ansel Brahim joined us, Krinagar Games, Lars Reese Jepson, Zigbone88, Jinxage Gaming, a good friend Derek, Marcos Garcia Feliz, and Humble are all now Helix Heroes. You've joined the squad, boys and girls. Congratulations, welcome, and thank you very, very much. Of course, we'll be back this Thursday streaming something new. So do check in, do jump in the chat, and more importantly, let us know what you'd like to play. And we'll get it locked in, as they say, Richie, as the kids say. We do have a busy week of news to break down and discuss. We got some announcements, so let's get into it, Richie. If you could do us the honours of introducing us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
The news. Richie, how do you feel about Rob stealing your news segment on our PlayStation podcast, Talking the PS, every week? You've kind of handed the baton over to him when you were missing for 1 week, and he hasn't given it back yet. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. It's like it's nice to have different takes on this sort of stuff. So it's like, I mean, I theoretically stole this one from Tom when first time Tom was missing, and I haven't handed it back permanently yet.
That is true.
So Rob didn't really steal it from me, because it was you who was missing, so I took your job in like hosting the show. So then Rob had to take my job and being like the co-host and doing like the tongue twister.
It's a good thing we're all friends, really.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Busy week of news though. So thank you for introducing the news. I don't think I've ever thanked you for introducing the news, actually. Now I say it out loud. Thank you, Richie, for 150 weeks of introducing the news, or being here for the news, we should say at least. First up, big story of the week. We got a Next Up on Stadia community blog announcement. Out of the blue, out of nowhere. I kind of didn't expect one this week, for some reason.
No.
I think just because we're like at that middle of the month period where we know we're not getting the pro games anytime soon. There's no big AAA games on the horizon outside of FIFA 23. Not long left, folks. And yeah, I just didn't expect anything from this week. And here we are on, I think it was Thursday, we got the community blog post Next Up on Stadia, bringing us 2 new Stadia games this side of Christmas, starting with Arcade Paradise. Kicking things off, Arcade Paradise from Nosebleed Interactive and published by Wired Productions will be coming in fall or autumn for you guys UK side this autumn. Welcome to Arcade Paradise, the 90s fueled retro arcade adventure. Rather than washing rags for a living, you decide to turn your family laundromat into the ultimate arcade. Play, profit and purchase new arcade machines with over 35 to choose from and build your very own Arcade Paradise. Features include rags to riches, literally. Take the laundromat business, take the dull chores, wash out the clothes and turn it into a booming arcade of the coolest games in town to make money. And high scores, etc. Soundtrack worthy of a cassette collection. The greatest gaming era ever, the 90s, it sells itself as. Essentially, Richie, in a nutshell, first person, you take over a laundromat, family business, you decide running a laundromat's boring, you turn it into an arcade. You clean up, you pick up chewing gum off the side of things, and you essentially pick which units go in, and you, make a bustling business. So it's a kind of a bit of a simulator, a bit of a first person kind of life simulator in a way.
It's a management sim for an arcade. Yeah. The weird thing is, like, if you were in the mid-90s, like, setting up an arcade, then that sounds taking, like, probably what's a successful laundromat business into an arcade. Knowing what we do, what happens in the next few decades to arcades is, like, that's a bad move. Keep your laundromat. Like
Barcades, where it's at now, in the 20s. Yeah.
Oh,
Give me some beer and arcades.
Arcades are making a bit of a comeback as a kind of niche hobbyist thing, but in terms of, we went to one in Poland.
We did, it was great.
But in terms of like widespread appeal, like the home console kind of really took a big dent in them.
Yeah, if you can play these things at home, why would you spend 50p a pop to play in the arcade? Like you're throwing money away essentially. There's a tipping point of success. But in terms of the actual game, like I actually heard a few podcasts talking about this game a few weeks back, and it piqued my interest. Them just joking about what you can and can't do, and you have to make decisions about, do you invest in a new washing machine or do you invest in an arcade machine? Like, you still need to balance the business. You can't just suddenly flip a switch and it's an arcade overnight. You have to still bring in income to afford the new machines to slowly make that pivot to an arcade.
Yeah, I like on like the key art, it's got like a row of arcade cabinets and then a washing machine in the middle with like a mop and bucket next to it.
I will say though, I've never used a laundromat. Have you?
Yes, sort of. When I was at university, my flat didn't have a washing machine built in. However, there was one literally on the corner of the apartment complex I was in. Because I wasn't in dorms, I was in like a flat. Did you? I don't think you ever came. But it was like a lot. It was like student flats, and there was like laundromats in like the corners of each building.
Right.
So
what
it
would you
wasn't
say
like
the
a
experience
private
was
one.
like? Is it like a social? Do you hang around and guard your clothes, or do you just pop them in and leave them for an hour and come back?
The first few times when I first moved there, I was like, I'm not leaving till these are done. But then it's like, you chill out a bit as it goes, and you just actually, there's only a limited number of people can access this building. As I said, it's not like a public one. There's only like literally people from that complex, but even then, only people from my like block of buildings.
Yeah.
And who's going to nick my clothes, really?
Who's going to steal my Pac-Man branded boxer shorts?
Yeah, so it wasn't that social. You occasionally, if like you turned up at the same time as someone, you talk.
Yeah, okay. Because I only ever see it in like movies and TV. And it's obviously bigger in America and
I took a guitar in one because, like, on one of the first times when I was still like reluctant to leave my stuff in there, I just took a guitar in, just sat playing guitar. In the
See, I don't
laundromat
think
for
I'd
an
know
hour.
what to do if I walked into a laundromat with all my dirty laundry and there's just some bloke sat there playing a guitar. I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to put my dirty clothes in here and start the spin cycle off and get the hell out of there.
It's a terrible place to play guitar because it's loud.
I'm sure
in
the
there.
acoustics are terrible as well.
Yeah.
All the curved doorways on the washing machines and stuff reverberating music all over.
But unfortunately, he didn't have an arcade cabinet in there.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it kind of, if you've got people waiting around, then give them something to do. And if you can make 50p off it for each time someone pays for the machines, then why not? Interesting. But looks like a fun little game nonetheless. And by autumn 2022, means we're not that far off, actually. I consider right now we're pretty much in autumn. It's getting colder outside. The nights are getting darker.
We may have stepped over the threshold to autumn. I'm not sure.
The threshold to autumn has begun. That sounds like a cool game, that. The threshold
to autumn.
Yeah, it's definitely some kind of TV series.
Officially, it's Friday the 23rd of September, so it's
next
end of the week.
Oh, cool,
yeah.
Cool. Oh, yeah, this week, we're recording it. But that wasn't all we got, boys and girls. We also got the announcement of a follow-up title, which is Martha is Dead. Also coming from Wide Productions, so there's clearly that ongoing relationship there. Developer LKA are putting out Martha is Dead, which is a dark first-person psychological thriller set in 1944 Italy that blurs the lines between reality, superstition, and the tragedy of war. As conflict intensifies between German and Allied forces, the desecrated body of a woman is found drowned. Martha is dead, and her twin sister Giulia? I'm going to call her Jen. The young daughter of a German soldier must alone deal with the acute trauma of loss and the fallout from her murder. The hunt for the truth is shrouded by mystery, folklore, and the extreme horror of war that draws ever closer. What will prevail? So looking at the kind of description in the blog for this game, Richie, it seems to me like a bit of what I would class as a walking simulator. It's got a deep and dark, multi-layered narrative, so lots of story points to kind of notes to pick up and stuff to read through, pictures to look at and such. And then you're going to explore a lush Italian countryside that looks beautiful, like very Tuscany-based. It's going to mix folklore and superstition, so symbols, tarot cards, clues, and different aspects. Photographs, it looks like 1940s photography will be a big part in this game. Fully working in the game Darkroom, so I guess you're going to go process pictures at some point. And then authentic Italian music era is the kind of vibe they're going for. Some of the clips, again, it does look like you're basically going to be exploring this Italian town, finding clues and figuring out what actually happened to Martha. And we'll go from there. You were reading some reviews pre-show about how it holds up for fans.
Yeah, some of the reviews and stuff I was reading, it kind of feels like they've got some interesting ideas but don't quite nail the landing on it. So some of the fan reviews it's just straight up, it's boring or broken, but it came out earlier in the year. I'd hope it's being fixed. It's being fixed as well patched by now. So I'm not too overly concerned about the bugs that were reported in a review back in February at this point. But some of the critical saying they've got some good ideas, but not quite landing it. So it's largely coming out 6s and 7s. When you exclude the people who just, the write-ups just seems like you just don't like walking sims, or that the experience spoiled by bugs.
Mm-hmm. I enjoy a good walking sim. Everybody's got the Rapture is one of my
I need to replay
ones.
that. I never got the platinum on it.
I didn't, but when I looked at the trophy list, it looked very, very tough, so I stopped that. But there's a good few moments in Everyone's Got the Rapture where it was telling a story, and it was just I remember just sitting back thinking this is cool. I like this.
Yeah, it's one of the, it was a nice experience, but once I've finished playing, okay, that was good. I'm happy there.
Yeah, although I do wish you could run at some point. That is always the downside to a walking simulator, is it's quite paced out. However, from these two titles, again, nice surprise from Wide Productions and the Stadia team. They do remind us at the end of the blog post that look forward to FIFA 23, Skull and Bones, Dead Island 2, and Trackmania coming soon. So, hey ho, they're digging into the big titles that we know that are on the horizon. And I kind of like that these two games they're not the traditional indie games we've seen over the last few months. Looks like there's a bit more about both of them, like a bit more character. They're both different enough, I think, from what we've seen. Games. I definitely think both of them have a high chance of being a pro game in the near future. Like by Christmas, I think one if not both of these might be a pro game.
I think there's a very good chance, to be honest. Especially Arcade Paradise.
Yeah, it's got that pro vibe, hasn't it? Out of the two of them, though, any preference? Where would you start?
I think I'd lean towards Arcade Paradise because after I might have went the other way before I read some reviews of Martha is Dead. But when it's like a lot of the reviews, like sometimes people just saying it's a bit boring or it's got good ideas but doesn't quite stick the landing on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of okay. I think Arcade Paradise, it seems to be a bit more, you know what that game is.
Yeah.
It's going to deliver on what it is. Where Martha's Paradise might be a bit disappointing if you were trying to expect it to be something more than it is.
Mm-hmm. Completely right.
What about yourself?
Probably Arcade Paradise. I like the look of Martha is Dead, but there's something about just the aesthetic and the chilled nature of Arcade Paradise. It's like, I'm in the mood for something a bit more fun. Martha is Dead might appeal to me more when we get closer to Halloween next month.
Yeah.
But then we do have other stuff.
You've got one eye on God of War on the corner, so you want something small that you can just like something a bit more arcadey. So you can just jump in and like, I'll play this for a couple of hours. God of War, I can just put it away and just not think about it again. Yeah,
pretty much, absolutely. Yeah, I'm in between games at the moment, which is why when we played The Crew last week, and I've got my Ubisoft subscription, I'm looking at a few things. I did some Far Cry Blood Dragon this week. Just did an hour or so of that. Enjoyed what I played, but yeah, I don't want to commit to anything right now because I've got Ragnarok on the horizon. I've got Plague Tale Requiem I want to play. I've got FIFA, which I know I'll delve into a brand new career mode in the next fortnight. So plenty to play. But yeah, I need those kind of little gap games to fill in. And we do know, next story of the week, there is some big Resident Evil news as well, which we need to break down and cover. So there's a ton of Resident Evil stuff dropped this week. There was a Capcom showcase online. We had a Nintendo Direct, in and amongst other things. And from that, we can obviously garner that an update for the Rose Winters expansion, which is coming to Resident Evil Village, of course, the biggest game on Stadia last year, in my opinion. Concluded with Resident Evil Village, it teased Ethan Winters' daughter, now a teenage daughter, so this takes place 16 or 17 years later. She has some kind of powers based on was it called Megamycete, I think the stuff she got poisoned with or got into her system. It focuses on Rose. We did find out that it is going to be in third person, which is the important thing, which we did know about. So remember, Village was all first person, and now the expansion is going to third person. So back to classic Resident Evil. And it takes us back to Lady Dimitrescu's house, the big mansion, the haunted house. We kind of walked around in that one. And there seems to be a different story at play. And this releases on October 28th. So actually, just over 1 month, we'll have the Shadows of Rose DLC, we'll have the Mercenaries update, and we'll have third-person mode for Village. And I think, Richie, just litmus test, you're still keen on playing through it in third person?
Yeah, we'll stream through. Awesome. Yeah, we'll be doing a stream of that.
Because I really loved Village, like from what we played, but I had a great time with it. So to explore it in this kind of different manner, I'm just really keen to see how the cutscenes play out, the villains, and how like the atmosphere is impacted by it not being first person. Yeah,
and it's been long enough as well that there'll be things that you've forgotten about the story, so it'll be interesting to go back.
Yeah, I don't know it in that much detail yet. However, in this thing, they did show off Rose's powers, as I said. So she's got some kind of power where it looks like she can freeze her enemies or like slow them down. So what seems to happen in the trailer is Lady Dimitrescu, spoilers if you've not played Resident Evil Village yet, she doesn't live in the house anymore for whatever reason. So it looks like the blob creatures from Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. It looks like they're now in the house, and the Duke, our good friend the Duke, our big friend the Duke, he's taken over the house, but I don't think he's all there in the head. I think something's happened to him, and then these creatures are now in the house. So there's something awry inside the house, and Rose has gone back. Of course, what the hell's took her back to this location? I don't know what. The death of her father, something maybe. But I'm just really curious to see what it is. And the reason we kind of want to dig into it, of course, is RE-verse. We still don't really know what that's going to be, but that's promised is coming to Stadia. And the Gold Edition is going to launch on Stadia as well, so you can buy the DLC in with it. I think it's about £15 standalone. But more importantly, I think I'm just excited for more horror Halloween stuff. And in and amongst all this, the reason we bring it up on this podcast is because Capcom also announced that there will be a cloud version of Resident Evil Village, and Resident Evil 2 remake and 3 remake going onto Nintendo Switch, and I think that just comes to fruition in this podcast, Richie, because we cover cloud gaming obviously quite heavily on a Stadia-based show, and we've been saying since the Village and Biohazard drop, we would love to see Resident Evil 2 remake, Resident Evil 3 remake make their way to Stadia, and then eventually Resident Evil 4 next year. I think next March is when the fourth one comes out. But more importantly, just more big titles from Capcom in that working relationship with Stadia. Now, however, since then, 2 and 3, they're on Luna. They're available on Luna. Nothing's come to Stadia that we know. And now the version of Cloud, I think Brian Chappelle did a video on the Nerf report about how bad the Cloud version runs on Switch because it's using Ubiquitous.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the cloud service that's the problem there. Like, I only knowing from my own internal network speed checks, my Switch is usually pretty sluggish compared to other devices that are around it. So I suspect the network card in the Switch isn't very good, and I don't think it's up to scratch when it comes to cloud gaming. The Pro or Lite versions of Switch might be different. I don't know. I haven't got one to test. But the base model Switch, I think, is just because we know Nintendo Online services are just kind of a bit crummy as well. So I have suspected for a long time, is that wireless card, that network card in the device just not good enough for cloud gaming? Yeah,
it's one that I hope because we know the Resident Evil 7 and Village, they came across the Stadia because of a $10 million deal. We know Stadia paid Capcom $10 million to port those games over. And again, if we're rewinding the clock back to 2020, this is Stadia's first full year. Yeah, no surprise those business deals are happening because Google knew they had to invest in the library to get some big hitters across to promote the platform. We got Cyberpunk and we got Resident Evil, I would argue, are the two biggest ones we've actually got in Stadia's history. I can't think of any titles that are really bigger.
Doom Eternal was meant to be like that was meant to be the big IP on launch. Obviously didn't work out that way because of that game getting delayed, but that's not actually Stadia's fault.
Exactly. And I think off the Ubisoft news we had last week, I would love to see Stadia come out by the end of the year and say, look, like they did with the EA deal with FIFA. Remember, we thought we were going to get 5 games only on EA because that's what Phil Harrison said the last time he had a public appearance. We now will be getting our 6th game in 2 weeks' time in the form of FIFA 23. So that deal is broken beyond that. This Capcom deal we knew was for them 2 titles. We're getting our reverse. That's going to come as part of the Village content. I just want to see them go back to that relationship and say, look, what do we need to do to get them on? Because Remake 2, finished game. It's been out for a few years now. Remake 3, finished game. Been out for a few years now. But they're great games to have in your library, especially with 4 on the horizon next year. It's that kind of riding that wave of, yes, they're older titles, but they do really well to flesh out your library. And I think Luna obviously saw that. They've gone in there with a deal. Did Amazon pay $10 million to get 2 and 3 remake?
Probably.
Yeah, probably something very similar. But this is where I think we as Stadia fans and players, I'd like to see some kind of just life that these deals, like, I don't want to think that Google's relationship with Capcom is dead. I don't want to think their relationship with EA or Ubisoft is dead. But
I don't think there's any bad blood between Stadia and any publishers. I think it's just like we have a situation where Google don't want to throw bags and bags and bags of cash at Stadia to bring games across. Personally, I think that's a mistake. And developers aren't going to bring them over at their own expense unless they think they'll see enough of a return.
Exactly.
I would suspect that maybe that $10 million to bring Village and 7 they probably didn't make $10 million off it. So if you're Capcom, it's like, well, we got the bag of cash to bring them over, but if we move them over ourselves, we probably might be at a loss.
Absolutely.
And it's not just a loss in terms of sales; it's also an opportunity loss because the people working on that could have been working on something else instead.
Absolutely, yeah. It's always a chicken and the egg scenario that we have.
Which is why I've always put the onus on Google. Like, you guys need to be driving the publishers to bring the games over.
Absolutely. Because then who loses out? If Capcom don't port RE4 Remake to Stadia, did Capcom lose out? No. The game is available on Steam, Epic, PlayStation. They've actually announced it's coming to PS4 as well. So they're actually going back a generation when they previously hadn't to bring this game across. who moves out? It's Google Stadia, and it's their fan base who will inevitably, if you want to play RE4 Remake, you're going to just play it elsewhere. Hell, it might be Game Pass Tier 1 for all we know at this
Let us know
point.
in the comments. Can you get it on GeForce Now?
I mean, yeah, I don't know, but
It's possible. I don't know. I haven't checked.
There's cloud versions out there on the Switch. So Nintendo are actively making moves with Capcom, but then the big difference is Nintendo, the Switch, has a player base of like 80 million units right now, if not more. I can't remember what the last number was. PlayStation 4, there's 30 million of them out there in the wild. And yeah, so you're totally right, Richie. The onus, we've been saying it time and time again on this show, and I'm sure lots of our viewers and listeners will agree, the onus is on Google and the Stadia team to get the funds to port the game across. You might have 300 games in your library, but if only 10-20% of them are of any game of any note or merit, yes, you've got Sekiro, yes, you've got Resident Evil Village, yes, you've got FIFA 23, but you're also missing 10 of the biggest games of 2022. That's not good enough, I don't think, for growth. Yeah. And then if you don't get the player base, we go in circles, and we've covered it many times on the show, but I just wanted to cover it because I'm excited for Resident Evil. I would love nothing more than 2, 3, and 4 Remake to come and just get that whole catalogue of RE games across. I think they'd be great in the cloud. And just to add that extra little caveat onto it, Richie, Village demo was running on Immersive Stream for Games on Capcom's very own website mere weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's another Batman scenario where it's running on the tech, so why not just make the deal? Who needs to push it over the edge? And I generally think it's just Google and the checkbook need to go to Capcom and say, look, 2, 3, and 4 Remake, what's it going to take? We got 2 games for 10 million last time. Is it 10 million? Yes. If they're not if they're not in the market to make those deals, I do really question Stadia's viability for AAA titles going forward. 1 or 2 games a year isn't cutting it when you're going into your 4th year of trade.
No,
especially when Luna's starting to get them, though. That's the bigger thing.
Stadia's already at a point where I think a lot of people are like, oh, that's still a thing. That they're still going. Good for them. Kind of thing. Like, I think we've moved beyond the joke, like Stadia being a bit of a joke, to like, people genuinely being surprised that it's still a thing, because it doesn't do enough to make enough headlines, so people just forget it exists. Mm-hmm. Like even actual games journalists seem to sometimes forget Stadia is still a thing, and is people still playing it.
Yeah,
because when they're going through everything because when they're going through the list of like games that are coming out and what platforms they're on, Stadia's rarely there.
Yeah, we saw it with Cyberpunk, the Edge Runner drop, and the new announcement, the story expansion last week, that IGN, the biggest game website on the planet, in their tweets out and their social media posts, it was like PlayStation 5, Series X, PC, end. It was like, well, actually, there's Stadia there as well, guys, but if they're not covering it, Eurogamer, they're not covering it, Kotaku...
Stuff like that, I don't think it's malicious. I think they just forgot.
Yeah, there's no one pushing the boat. There's no... Like, does the official Stadia account tweet out about it? No. Who do you think the journalists follow for the Stadia news? Probably the official Stadia account. And if they ain't tweeting about it, they're not reading the blog post.
If you're not sending them press releases.
Exactly. You're just a footnote at the bottom of a 2-page document about information. And it's going to get missed off. But we digress. One of the things that won't be forgot about, however, is the launch of From Space. We covered it on last week's show that From Space will be coming pro. It was scheduled to come to pro this month in September as a kind of later pro game. No doubt that will take over into October. However, the team over at Triangle Studios have tweeted out a little message this week saying, it seems the incoming alien invasion is looking to be quite the battle. We need more time to round up our troops to be ready to meet them head on. To ensure we have the best possible launch, we're moving From Space as release date on all platforms. You can expect a new release date announcement next week. We know this news will be disappointing to some, but we feel it will give us the best opportunity to launch our game. We hope you understand. We can't wait for you all to get your hands on From Space later this year. Thank you for your continued support. This means the world to us, the From Space team. And Richie, I think obviously it was due to be a pro game this year. No doubt it'll be pushed back to being a pro game at a later date, whenever it does decide to launch. Actually, when you're watching this week, obviously this show goes live on a Monday, you may know by now what the new release date is. I don't think it's going to be that far off. It sounds like they just need a little bit more time to put the game back in the oven. And our usual approach is just, take all the time you need.
Yep. Well, by now, like, I think people are very much accustomed to games getting delayed, so just take your time, make sure it's good before you release it. That's it.
Don't rush it. Of course, we've got a first look of the early access demo that went available on Stadia up on the channel. We had a great time with it. I'm looking forward to playing the game. I enjoyed it. Came from Space and 8 Hour Brains. This looks like it's this kind of next successor onto that with more features, more twists, jump up in graphics and stuff, and enemy variety. Can't wait. Can't wait to play it. Of course, we're going to get it as pro, so we're no doubt going to do probably a live stream on a Thursday night on the channel. And just take all your time. We're more than happy to wait for it. So good luck getting it polished. Moving on to the next story of the week, we've got some updates specific to Stadia and their actual features. So we knew this was probably coming due to an APK breakdown a few weeks ago, but it does appear that it's finally here. The Explore tab, for one. So if you use the Stadia app on your mobile device, you'll notice across the bottom there's a tab that you've probably never looked at in a long, long time. You've got Stadia Games, you've got the Storefront, and you've got the Explore tab. And if you head over there now, some people across the world have been able to access reactions. So essentially, if Richie was to share a clip of this week's The Crew, where he did an epic maneuver and he lost the race to me in the last 10 seconds on the final corner of the race, and he captured that.
I think I might have done, I'd have to check my capture.
Well,
I did capture a few things.
Yeah, if you post that over there, then people through the app can go in and react with one of course, the famous emojis, thumbs up, heart, clap, laugh, cry, do whatever you want to do. That's been rolling out, and I've seen a few people across social media this past weekend basically tweet out about it, saying, well, hey, look. However, Richie, it does look like they've been pulled. I've seen people say they were able to react, and then they've gone from the home screen. I've personally not seen it on my own, on either desktop or mobile yet. I guess you're checking now.
I'm checking now, yeah. I intentionally wanted to wait till we actually were in the show to check, so I can give it the most up-to-date I can. And it's not there for me yet.
Not there for me, yeah. It's not there for me either. I can see loads of stuff posted across the thing. Loads of it looks like Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon. A couple of Avengers posts, but of course, we'll see more about that. But that's just one of the features. We're also getting the update to 1440p. So we covered this again a few weeks ago. It was rolling out. It looks like 1440p resolution support has started to roll out on Google Stadia via the web browser at least. So not quite reaching Chromecast levels just yet. However, a couple of people over on social media pointed out that if you go into the settings, you can then find the option to select 1440p if it can expand to your browser.
Oh, I tell a lie. It is there.
Oh.
I've just posted a clip from The Crew too, where I flew a plane high up the sky and dropped in a hovercraft, and it's now there, and I have reacted to it myself.
You've reacted to your own post.
It doesn't appear to be there for other people, though.
Yeah, I don't have it. So I can see your post just gone live there, The Crew too.
Yeah.
I've got no options to do anything with it.
As you can see, I've got one heart underneath it. I can
unfollow this game, unfollow this player, or report this post.
Don't report.
Is all I can do.
So apparently, you can react to your own posts and no one else's. Cheers, Google.
Thanks. But yeah, no doubt, obviously, these features are rolling out. So maybe by the time the show goes live, by the end of the week, you'll be able to react. Again, I kind of want comments. I don't feel like a reaction. Reactions are all right because then you don't get arseholes jumping in and just making fun of people and whatever.
It's a start.
It's a start, of course. Yeah, it's good to know for me that they're investing in the features tab. And again, with the 1440 news, I've seen a couple of people saying actually Stadia technically has been able to do 1440. I know Chris Clay, who does the Stadia extension through the Chrome browser, was actually saying, well, because of the output of 4K 60 since Stadia initially, I don't know this. I don't know the tech behind it, but obviously 1440 can be compressed out of that to get the right resolution dimensions if you need them.
If you can export a 4K, you can export a 1440. It's just beyond that point, it's just software.
Yeah. So it's basically now you can select it as an option natively rather than tweaking the resolution on your own part. It'll also use up to 14.4 gigabytes of data per hour streaming. But if anyone's playing Stadia out there, you probably don't worry too much about data caps. Otherwise, you're probably on the wrong platform.
Yeah, the reason why I think 1440p is very good because a lot of phones are 1440p, not 4K. Mm-hmm. And a lot of PC monitors are 1440p, not 4K.
Yeah.
So when smaller screens, like a PC monitor, the difference between 4K and 1440p isn't actually that noticeable because it comes down to ultimately the size of the pixels. But obviously, the bigger the screen you get, the more useful it is. So in your living room TV, you'll see more of a jump up than you would on your phone.
Absolutely. Who doesn't love a good bit of PPI?
Yeah.
I think that's right. Pixels per square
Pixels per inch.
Yeah. Either way, what the kind of the positive I glean from all this is that Stadia, or the Google team, they're still working behind the scenes to implement features, like new not exclusive features, but you know what I mean. Like, they're still cranking away behind the scenes. So like the Explore tab still being worked on by a team. There is a team of engineers out there and developers who are tweaking things and making improvements to the service. 1440p. I've seen a couple of people go like, oh, it's took them a while to get to it. It's like, yeah, but at the same time, didn't PlayStation 5 just get it as part of an update like 2 weeks ago or something?
Yeah, what I think a lot of it is 4K became the big marketing buzz. So everyone just went, oh, it has to have 4K. I think Stadia did the same thing. The focus was on getting 4K 60.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think there might have been better served saying 1440p 60, but ultimately it doesn't sell as well.
Yeah, it doesn't roll off the tongue as much as like 4K 60.
Yeah, so like outside the PC space, I think 1440p was kind of overlooked. It kind of almost like skipped a generation of like video hardware.
Definitely. I'm trying to think of what else we could do with the Explore tab with uploading your captures. I wonder if there's a way they can upload, because you can stream direct to YouTube now. Obviously, that's been a thing for some time.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could just share your clips direct to your YouTube account as a short.
Well,
that would be a nice little thing.
I think we probably said 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, that things like having more links between Stadia and things like your other Google stuff, like your Google Drives, like YouTube, would be very nice. But it just feels like it's a separate ecosystem.
Yeah, it would be like, if you take a capture, there's the option to just send it to your drive straight away, so then you can use it on other things.
Yeah, I'd love to just take a capture and then go into my Google Drive on my PC, and there's the video.
Just like a Stadia folder.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Just like in an MP4 format, so it's ubiquitous and easy to handle, and it's just there.
Yeah, that would be
and I can just download it straight away.
It would benefit us if we could upload them as shorts, to be fair, as content creators. Like, we do something funny, you hold the button in, 30-second capture, and then after the fact, you go on your app and it says, add text, add a filter, submit, and then it just gets uploaded as a 30-second short.
Instead of just a native capture, which is, to be fair, it's kind of bland. Like,
just holding the button, beep, done.
Because like if you look at the capture I put on, you can't hear me talking.
No context.
I didn't have a mic on. There's no context. It's just this thing. But if I could upload that directly from Stadia to YouTube as a short,
add a little description in.
It opens up like the YouTube editing stuff that you get when you record a short natively. That would be great.
Yeah. There you go. We just came up with another great feature to add to the Explore tab. Again, let us know in the comments below if you've got any unique things you think Google are kind of sitting on a great little idea.
To play on that as well. So if someone's watching on YouTube, sees my short of me like falling in a hovercraft, I want a bit of that. They click it and it brings up the Crew 2 on Stadia.
Yeah, well, that's the great thing. Is like, I think it works.
And if you've got a free trial on it, you're straight in.
Yeah, like imagine that. So like
how it all links.
FIFA 23 comes out like later this month. You, me, jump on, we play a game. Ask got an absolute cracking goal, over the moon with it. 30-second clip of the build up, the goal, and then the celebration afterwards. Someone watches that on YouTube. It pops up in a short. Harry Kane scores whatever goal. Way that player goes, oh, that was fun. And right in there is the link that says play FIFA 23 now, free demo. Click it, and then boom, they're playing it on their phone within 20 seconds thanks to cloud gaming. And then that's like, oh, I can play FIFA just from watching a short into a game in less than a minute. I haven't bought a console worth £450. I haven't had to get a controller because touch controls work. I haven't had to buy the game yet because I got a free trial. But then the more they look into it, they realise they can go home and their Chromecast, their mum and dad have in the living room TV, or their LG Smart TV, works on that. So what do they need to get in Stadia? What about my sister's old laptop she used to use for university? I can play it on that as well. I have an old PlayStation controller, DualShock, kicking around. It's these kind of scenarios that they're just missing a trick, and I just want them to kind of... the great tech they've built, it could be utilised in so much more fun and creative ways, and they're yet to do it.
I really like that idea of combining like the shots and like the Stadia capture like very natively. Like, I think that's a fantastic idea. Like, because the whole point of shorts is that anyone with just your phone, you can just do it. Mm-hmm. But now you're also integrating your own gaming platform into it in a seamless way that no other platform has that.
Nope. Look at us, Richie. We're like practically PR marketing department working for free.
And now the boffins at Sony and Microsoft have just heard us talk about this and going to integrate their captures into TikTok.
Damn, not TikTok. Don't do it. But yeah, so Explore tab, it's still ticking over, still getting updates. And leave your reaction below. if you like the ideas we just theorized, give us a like. React below and help us out with our very own algorithm. And
go like my video.
You might see some shots. Yeah, go if you can
go
react
find
to
me an
Richie's
explore
video.
type and give me a reaction.
Exactly. Moving back to some actual game news, though. Roller Champions, after all the stuff that was kicking off last week around Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed and my temperament regarding the Mirage was or wasn't coming, which we will cover in just a short while. Roller Champions is one of those things that's kind of had food for thought, because it was, of course, announced quite a while back as coming to Stadia. And then we missed the launch, we missed Season 1, we missed Season 2, I want to say. And
it's scheduled for Season 2.
Yeah, sorry, we're on the cusp of Season 2, getting that right. So our good friend John Scar over at 4Scar Gaming, go check his fantastic Stadia content out if you are hungry for some more. There's 19 days left in this current season, and what that means is there's a new Roller Champions season scheduled to come out some point around the 4th and 5th of October, so next month. And of course, with the launch of a new season, that would be a great time to launch new platforms. I think Luna as well is expecting this game, but it's not arrived on that one yet, if I recall. So Cloud is still a miss when it comes to Roller Champions, if I'm not mistaken. But in regards to that...
Luna isn't listed on this thing that John's tweeted out, though.
I'm sure it was announced. But either way, that we know very much that the quarterly reports don't reflect. We've said For Honor was coming to Stadia 6 times over, I think, and then it gets retracted. So we won't read too much into that one. But Stadia specifically, it was listed in the second quarter results for July to September 2022. And within Roller Champions Season 2 was Nintendo Switch, PC, PlayStation, Xbox One, and Stadia. So I think it could be a good shout. Yeah, Stadia might get Roller Champions in line with Season 2. And I'm looking forward to it. Actually, I played the demo on Switch. Oh, not the demo, the whole game. It's free to play, isn't it? I was going to say, did I download the demo? No, I downloaded Roller Champions on the Switch, and I played a few of the tutorial bits. I did a game or two. I had a bit of fun with it, Richie. Because, of course, I'm in between games now. So I've got that, like, when I've got a spare hour, I think, what do I fancy? And I was like, you know what? I'll check out Roller Champions because it might be coming. I'm going to get the edge, basically, for the game. So whoever plays along with us and practicing.
He knows we're going to do a stream on this, because especially for being a free-to-play game. So he's getting some practicing now, so he's better than me.
I wasn't that good, if I'm honest. The skating part was okay, but the throwing and skating of the ball at the same time, bit tricky. Might need to put a few more hours into that one to get it. But do let us know if you think it's coming soon. Roller Champions, of course, and maybe not add to the downfall of Ubisoft leaving the dread, as was all rumoured and speculation. But I guess we should clarify, Richie. We did cover it last week, of course, on the podcast. Assassin's Creed Mirage. We covered it as part of our Ubisoft Forward coverage. At the time of recording last week's show, anyone who watched or listened will know that we thought it was coming because it was on a couple of websites. It was on the pre-order page in multiple languages. And then it was on the Ubisoft Connect app as well, as listed as Stadia. And then during the hour and a half recording of the show, that was backtracked and the website removed any mention of the word Stadia, and it's since been clarified, I think, across all channels. It's not there. And there was an article came out this week from Axios Gaming, and after picking up with Yves Guillemot, the Ubisoft CEO, they kind of went through the breakdown of like some great things that were there at the conference, Ubisoft share prices, typical like business chatter and conversation, the Assassin's Creed coming back, all the multiple announcements, all that kind of jazz. And one of the things that was picked up within all that was it coming to cloud systems, and it was clarified that it's not coming to Stadia. So we've got our official clarification from the Axios article that it's not coming. So that one, I guess, for now puts that to bed, Richie. I think a lot of people are still holding out that it may come at a later date, which it certainly could.
Yeah, but
I don't think we're getting it.
I think this is like, as it stands, Ubisoft have no intention of bringing that game over. We don't know the reasons why, but I think that is it definitive. It's not coming. And
I think this probably, rather than get into it right here, probably lends itself to a CloudQuest episode at some point where you and me need to sit down and have a serious talk about Ubisoft's relationship with Stadia, and has it reached its kind of end, maybe monetarily? Like, again, Ubisoft weren't in this definitively till the end of times.
Ubisoft, they've been like, they've been the biggest supporter of Stadia,
Undoubtedly,
basically, because it was we how many times have we talked in this channel like a Ubisoft game gets announced, like it's basically guaranteed Stadia.
Yeah,
that was kind of the stance we had because that's what was happening.
That was the cadence.
That is no longer happening.
Yeah,
I mean, even Roller Champions again, that's still not here, and it's scheduled to come in season 2. It may not be at the start of season 2. They haven't promised that.
Yeah.
But there again, it's also months later than when the rest of the game. So that was a first thing.
We didn't get Hyperscape.
Now we got Mirage coming. We didn't get Hyperscape.
Prince of Persia was never confirmed.
Yep. And then there's other stuff further down the line, like Assassin's Creed, the code names.
Yeah. The code
as
names.
I shall collectively refer to them. They're not confirmed for Stadia.
Yep. But
so there's starting to become an emerging question mark, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. As a big Ubisoft fan and Assassin's Creed fan, we of course should remember that Odyssey was the kind of test bed for Project Stream, which was Stadia before it was called Stadia. So that's one of the biggest ones. We've got Origins, we've got Odyssey, we've got Valhalla, we've got all the DLC, got a bunch of other Far Cry. And again, yes, it's been the biggest supporter, hands down, in terms of AAA quality. And I know it's a smaller title, but as you mentioned during the showcase, Richie, this was a spin-off from Valhalla. All of Valhalla's content is on Stadia. So the fact that...
suggests to me it's the same engine.
Oh, undoubtedly, yeah. It has to be if it was Valhalla DLC. But the fact that it's now confirmed as not coming, that means it's potentially not worth it for Ubisoft, which makes me question whether the deal with Stadia for however many, whether it was like whatever milestones they needed to hit. Was it plays? Was it game total? Was it a time frame, like 3 years and you're out? This is maybe starting to bear fruit of what that relationship actually truly looks like. And we'll talk about it on a CloudQuest episode, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's
it'll be down the line a bit. I want to see how things emerge a bit, because this might be just a hiccup rather than, oh God, crisis mode.
Absolutely. But yeah, there's definitely cause for concern. I think anyone out there who's blindly saying this doesn't matter, I think is lying to themselves, quite frankly. Like if Ubisoft...
Depends what you want from the platform, really. Like...
Yeah, there's rumours swelling around that Ubisoft might be about to launch their own cloud service, which wouldn't surprise me. They've got to deal with Luna. They've got to deal with... I was going to say us then. They've got to deal with Stadia. They've got to deal...
They could go through a massive stream. We've talked about that potentially.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could... I mean, we've said how many times before have we actually theorised that Ubisoft Plus could just be its own standalone cloud platform, because they have the library.
Through a massive stream. Mm-hmm. The library's already on the hardware. They might not need Stadia at all.
Yeah, they'll just pay them dividends for immersive streaming. And this is the worrying time we find ourselves in with the platform regarding support and developer and publisher relationships. And again, me and Richie, we want Stadia to succeed more than anyone, or equal to anyone out there, more than anything. Like when we say it's worrying, it's genuine worry, because we're just reading what's in front of us. And if you're telling me the next big entry in the Assassin's Creed franchise isn't coming when every prior entry has, how is that not worrying to you as a fan of the platform or as a fan of Assassin's Creed or Ubisoft games? Like it just has to be. Yeah, it just has to be. You can't look at that and say, no, that's not worrying. Of course it is.
If you enjoy the platform, like I've advocated for bringing things like Fortnite to that. I have no interest in playing Fortnite at all, but I know it would be good for the platform. Mm-hmm. By bringing something like Fortnite over, it brings more players over, more money gets spent. The platform is in a healthier place.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't really go and buy the argument when people go, I've got a huge backlog anyway. It's like, not every game that comes to the platform has to go into your backlog.
Yeah, I've seen that. And again, I totally get it. If you're that gamer out there, you've got 50 other games ready to play, that's great. But my question is, that's great for your case basis, but is that going to grow Stadia? And if you've got 50 games in your back catalogue...
If you want games to keep coming that you want to play, you need games to keep coming.
Exactly. Like, I might not like we said last week, you and me weren't too fussed on the Crew 2. But if the Crew 3 didn't arrive, that's a whole audience of potential players and people to invest in the platform are going to go buy it elsewhere. We said it with...
That we weren't fussed on it. I kind of just missed out. I hadn't really given it much thought.
But same with what we just covered about Resident Evil. If Resident Evil 8, whatever the next entry looks like, doesn't come, all those players who enjoyed Village and enjoyed Biohazard and enjoyed ReVerse maybe on Stadia, they'll go elsewhere. And then when they see Amazon Luna has it, they'll go play there. And then what that happens is that degrades the investment in the platform from consumers. And if you don't have investment, as a business, you look at closing it down or selling it. And it's all well and good having a back catalogue, but if that back catalogue cannot be played in 2-3 years' time because the business has failed, you've got nothing. Well, so you might not care about Assassin's Creed Mirage, but it's imperative that games like that are coming on the platform.
Yeah, there's interesting stuff as well. It's not necessarily just newer titles. Like, the biggest irony for me at the moment is Trails of Cold Steel 3 came to the platform, came to Pro. I got interested in the series. It reviews well when I was looking into it for the shows. Like, this seems like a game I'd enjoy to play. But it's a continuation. It's a continuous story. 1 leads into 2, leads into 3, leads into 4. I want to start number 1. Mm-hmm. It's not on the platform, so I bought it on PlayStation because I was sick of waiting.
How much did it cost you?
It cost me about 20 quid.
There you go. So that's 20 quid in Sony's back pocket.
Yeah. There you go.
You just keep that ready to show every single week now.
No, it's just on my desk because I've got it installed on my PS4 rather than my PS5.
And
so it's just up here. I haven't took the case downstairs or anything.
And again, I know I keep going back to it, Mafia, but I haven't played Mafia 3 because I want to play Mafia 1, then 2, then 3 in chronological order because I've never played those games before. I want to start at the beginning because it's the definitive edition collection. I'm now 714 days from PlayStation 4 release. I'm now 850 days away from the tease on Twitter that it's coming to Stadia. And yet here we are still talking about it. So I get it out there. You're passionate about the platform. You enjoy the games. But for its future success, these relationship deals with Capcom, Ubisoft, EA, new companies, they have to start bearing fruit and showing that there is a future here. Otherwise, you could have 1,000 games in your back catalogue that could see you through to your death without buying any other purchase ever. But if the server shuts down, it's all gone. And we all lose out, unfortunately. So, yeah, approach it.
What people don't realise about your offices, behind the camera, the other side of the camera is, you've got walls like a prison cell where every day you chalk one off. That's how he's able to grip, and then we just need to read the check marks.
Yeah. Days of Mafia. Count up those tally charts. Moving on though, Richie, there's just a couple more threads we need to announce to this to kind of like stack the games list. There was an article from CBR, comic book something. I don't know what the website fully stands for. Comic book reviews. I don't know. News reviews. They did an access regarding breaking down Marvel's Midnight Suns and some gameplay and balancing and yada yada yada. We've talked about Midnight Suns on some. It's not confirmed for Stadia. However, at the end of the article, it did reference coming to Google Stadia, which of course had a couple of people pick up their ears and go, Brandon Zachary, the author of the article, Marvel's Midnight Suns will arrive on PS5, Series X and S, Microsoft Windows, and Google Stadia on December 2nd. I read this. I saw a few tweets about it. I thought, great news. That's a AAA game coming by the end of the year. Another one added to the list. We're seeing some AAA games between FIFA, Skull and Bones and such. Cannot wait. However, nowhere else has mentioned it or covered it. And I know John Scar, again, over at Best Buy Blogs, said it. Some of their press releases have been a bit iffy. No confirmation from them. I reached out to the 2K support team, so I sent them an email through the support links. There was no option to actually select Midnight Suns, so I had to send it as another. I'll be honest, their first response didn't answer my question. They did one of those generic replies where it says, check out the website kind of thing for the answer. And I was like, you've not really answered my question.
The reason I'm reaching out to you is because the answers I'm looking for weren't on the website.
Yeah, so my initial question to them was... what was my initial question? Where are we at? So I attached a link to the article and said the game will be coming out. Can you just confirm it's coming out on Google Stadia? And a bit more like pleasantries. And they attached a link that took me to the 2K support help team, and I basically had to reply saying, you didn't answer my query at all. If I asked, could they confirm on Google Stadia? Their response was... Thank you for reaching out. As you may have heard from the announcements, Marvel's Midnight Suns will be a little delayed, and you may have some questions. You can visit the link. So they sent me the link again. Where are we at? I've attached a link that contains all the information you are seeking. Unfortunately, the game will only be available on Windows PC, Series X and S, PS5, Xbox One, PS4, Nintendo Switch, and PC versions following at a later date. If any other issues emerge, don't hesitate to contact us. We're here to help. So basically, again, we know the support team is just an employee reading from a script of answers that they've been given. However, it does look like it's not coming. So don't get your hopes too much on Midnight Suns. Again, it will be a nice surprise. Alas, doesn't look like it's coming. Another one, Richie, which I'm sure you're probably not too pleased about, is Octopath Traveller 2 was also announced at the Nintendo
I'm happy
Direct.
about that.
Oh, happy about the announcement.
About that bit. Yeah.
Square Enix announced that the sequel to the very successful, very popular Octopath Traveller was announced at the Nintendo Direct. The sequel is going to take place in a new era and involve 8 new characters whose adventures you'll get to play as individually. The era is going to span modern takes and remind it's going to look at like an 18th, 19th century part. Richard, you played Octopath Traveller. You absolutely adored it.
Yep.
And the very unique thing about that game was it came out on Switch,
Yes.
Xbox, but then Stadia.
Yeah, it was a Switch exclusive initially. Then it later came to PC, Xbox, and Stadia.
But not
So
PlayStation.
obviously, no, not PlayStation. So obviously, for number 2, it's coming to Switch and PlayStation.
Naturally, just pivot.
Square being Square things.
Square doing Square things, not Project Triangle things, just Square things. And again, to go back to the Midnight Suns story, I guess, and then the Ubisoft Assassin's Creed Mirage stuff, and all of the other sports titles outside of FIFA, Madden, NBA, all those the golf, all the other things people are looking forward to, we must go back to it. But another issue is sequels to successful franchises that are not returning, and that's a concern because if you enjoy the first one on the platform, you're on the platform now. You've done your hard work. Stadia, you got people will have picked up Stadia to enjoy Octopath Traveller, the first game. And now the sequel's announced, they go, fantastic, I'll pick up where I left off on my platform of choice where I played the first one. Or wait, I can't buy it. Where is it available? Oh, it's on PlayStation now. I guess I'll just play it on my PS4. And then you've lost another £60 worth of business. You've dampened your image because the sequel hasn't came. So then when any other Square Enix games comes out, you don't bother looking at Stadia. And then again, it's just this kind of like chipping away at the block, Richie, where every sports game that doesn't come, every sequel that doesn't come, if we don't get Jedi Survivor next year, that's honestly a kick in the balls, because it's like, right, okay,
the list gets longer.
And then my patience and interest in the platform wins, because if there's nothing I want to play, then why am I hanging around? That's
it for me. Is as we were talking earlier, is like, it's great if you're like the top person, you look at your backlog and there's all these games you want to play. For me, pretty much every game I want on Stadia, I already have, outside of Ubisoft stuff, which I currently have Ubisoft Plus, but that's a choice not to buy them because Ubisoft Plus exists.
Mm-hmm.
So when new games are coming, I'm like saying what's going forward. I'm looking at other platforms more than Stadia, and it sucks.
And it's not through want, it's out of necessity that you can't play the games where you want to. I would love to play. I'm done with updates and patches and day one installs. Like, I absolutely hate every time I get something on my PS5. It's like, oh, here we go. I have to go through this whole rigmarole again. And the convenience of cloud gaming, we've never understated it on this channel. It's phenomenal. It runs, it works. There's about 1,000 live streams on our channel of us playing games and having no problems whatsoever. We don't deny that ever. But the one thing we keep reiterating is the games library is just not up to snuff in comparison to their competition. And that was okay in 2019. Maybe okay in 2020. Passable in 2021. We're now in 2022, going into the 4th year, and it's a thing that will never go away. It will never go away until they have parity with their competition.
Yeah, going back to Trails of Cold Steel, I would have happily played 1, 2, 3. I'm really enjoying 1, so I'm probably going to pick up 2 as well. Assuming that was the case, I would have been happy to play 1, 2, 3, and then 4 all on Stadia.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't, I'm going to play 1 and 2 probably on PlayStation, 3 on Stadia because I have it as a pro game, and then I'll make a decision with 4 closer at the time. But it might go back to PlayStation if I can pick it up cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point, I'm not committed to having the entire series on one platform.
Absolutely.
Because and I don't really like double dipping. So if I was going to have the series on one platform at this point, I'd be buying 3 on PlayStation.
Exactly.
Because I can't get 1 and 2 on Stadia. So
And this is what it keeps coming back to, is I think there's a lot of people out there who think that it's negative coverage and stuff. And honestly, we would love to sit here and say, Jedi Survivor, can't wait for it. It's confirmed it's coming next March. Assassin's Creed Mirage, early next spring. Can't wait for it. It looks fantastic. Going to really enjoy FIFA 23 this autumn time. I genuinely
FIFA
still...
23, it's a Stadia purchase
genuinely
for me
still am,
because it's coming.
Completely. Gotham Knights. Love to play Gotham Knights. It's not coming. And then it's like, we would cover all the positive news and we'd be over the moon, but we can't cover that if it isn't happening. If the games aren't coming, we can't talk about them in any positive light because they're not coming. And then it kind of adds salt to the wound when it's sequels to games that I've played and enjoyed. We didn't get Sniper Elite 5 in the summer. Everyone forgets about that one. We got Sniper Elite 4, we got Zombie Army 4, we got Strange Brigade, we got 3 games from Rebellion 2 years ago. Didn't get the latest entry. What's happening with that? SpongeBob, Cosmic Rewind. We got Destroy All Humans remake. We got the last SpongeBob Rehydrated. The new one, nowhere to be seen. So it's
Borderlands 3. We didn't get Tiny Tina.
Yep. We're not going to get the Tales from the Borderlands, which comes out next month.
You get some of the sports games and some of the racing games didn't see sequels.
Formula 1, didn't see it.
There's a pattern emerging, and it's worrying for the platform.
Grid Legends again, 2019, 2020, acceptable. You're fairly new, you're fledgling, whatever. We're now so far into the life cycle of the platform that any games that should have been negotiated at the launch should be starting to bear fruit. And we're not seeing that. So, yes, we would cover every single bit of news we can find relating to Stadia, but we can't do it if it ain't happening. So, on that point, Richie, let's move things on a little bit. PUBG still around, still going, and doing really well actually. They've put out a latest update for the McLaren crossover event, which I didn't expect PUBG to partner with McLaren of all people.
When I saw that, I was like, "That's a weird."
I was like, "Is McLaren a person? Is that a thing? It surely can't be the car manufacturer." But no, it is the McLaren crossover event in line with the Destin map update. They're bringing new weather systems, new vehicles, of course, and the 19.2 patch update report. Players can tart up their coupes with McLaren skins through the vehicle interaction feature. Also, fair warning, the skins don't affect the performance of the vehicle, so don't expect the little buggies and trucks and cars in the game to suddenly be rocking around at 200 mile an hour, going off ramps and stuff. Other treats include the vehicle workshop, where you can spend McLaren tokens to add vehicle skins throughout the course of the game. There's also refreshed animations, enhanced features, weather, lighting, patch updates, bugs fixes, blah, 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 blah. PUBG,
How does this even happen? How does this partnership even occur?
I don't know. The McLaren CEO is a big fan of PUBG, maybe.
It's got to be something like that.
It has to be, doesn't it? Yeah. Of course, PUBG Battlegrounds, since going free-to-play back in February, is actually seeing 80,000 new players daily since the switch over from being a paid title, which is up 37% year on year. In terms of profit and operating revenue. So, yeah, good for Krafton. Of course, Krafton about to put out Callisto Protocol later this year, the big horror franchise, Dead Space, spiritual successor. Again, not coming to Stadia as far as we're aware, but that would have been a good title to get in the bag, seems though you've got PUBG on the platform. So,
you say the Stadia-specific stuff in PUBG as well.
Exactly. So, this is what we keep saying about there's relationships that exist. They just don't seem to continue. It's almost like they've all had the first date. They had a great time. Things ticked over. They had a good conversation. The meal was nice.
Yeah. You like each other, but there wasn't enough.
Yeah, it's just kind of like when Google are messaging Krafton and saying, "Oh, I had a great time last time. Any chance of Callisto Protocol?" And they get a reply saying, "Who dis?" Question mark. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's me. Remember we went on a date back in 2019 when you launched PUBG on the platform, and they go, sorry, I'm with someone now. I'm with Sony and Xbox, and a bit awkward. But either way, if you're happy, if you're enjoying PUBG, it is there. There's plenty of features to enjoy and play through as well. There was an Assassin's Creed time limited event. I don't know if you picked up on that one last month.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we even covered it on the show. But yeah, there was an Abstergo kind of stuff added in. The assassins are right. You could get the skins of the hoods and stuff. I think, we might have mentioned it. I can't remember. Either way, we digress. And then the final story of the week is one for Ubisoft. Let's throw some shade at Ubisoft while we're here, Richie. Why not? And that is that bosses indicate that the $70 price point, the AAA $70, £70 price point that we've got over in the UK and the States for PlayStation exclusives now seem to be, they've rose with the launch of the PS5. From Skull and Bones onwards, that is going to be the price point for AAA titles in the future. However, I'm pretty sure on Stadia, most games are about £10 cheaper still. I know Saints Row launched at £10 cheaper. So maybe this is a gap where cloud gaming can actually bear some positivity.
There's an argument, actually, that the increase in price that we saw initially with the PlayStation stuff, and now Ubisoft are jumping on board, we haven't really seen a price increase in video games for decades.
Yeah, it's not gone up with inflation. It's like our wages, Richie. It's not gone up with inflation.
And in that time, games have got bigger and more complicated, and this is why what I think is driven like the more sometimes not nefarious monetization strategies like
Loot
Ubisoft
boxes.
and EA, loot boxes, things like that. So it might just be one of them shitty situations where as a consumer we just have to bite the bullet on this. I actually think if it's a case of I pay an extra £10 for a game, but then it isn't full of loot boxes and other gotcha mechanics to try and force me to spend more and more and more money, and it means the developers can have more time to work on it, I get a better experience, it might be worth it. But that it doesn't mean we see how the monetization strategy also works, because something like Skull and Bones, where I'm expecting there to be season passes and paid for DLC and cosmetics and stuff, is like, does that need to be that price point, or could this one be at a cheaper price point? Because I don't know.
Games are more expensive.
It's to be seen. Like, I think with Sony almost get away with it because like God of War is probably going to be worth the £70. Like, I'm fully expecting that.
I'm
not going to walk away from that game going, that was a waste of money.
Absolutely. In line with that, then, I know the answer, but would you pay £70 for Skull and Bones based on what you've seen so far?
No, I'll just get Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah. Again,
again, that's also part of the strategy, probably.
Yeah,
just
putting the price up
into
pushes you towards that. Yeah, and then we know.
Well, it's £70, and these are the reasons why. Basically, the reasons I just outlined. This is why it has to be £70. Or you could get Ubisoft Plus and get it for free, with all the season passes and whatever you want.
Exactly. And rounding out the show, then, it's not really Stadia news, but we'll get it in because of the rumours. Of course, we've got Red Dead Redemption 2, and then we didn't get the GTA remakes. But have you seen the GTA 6 leaks have started? Like, genuine leaks have started coming out, it would appear.
I actually have.
As of today. There's not a great deal. It looks like lots of kind of like early work. You can still see all the developer, like the directional arrows and the kind of rendering numbers that go across the bottom of the screen. You can just find a few clips of just different protagonists walking around a city, it looks like. Very GTA kind of esque aesthetic, stylized, but it seems like we've seen a few leaks for GTA 6, or what will be GTA 6, whatever it ends up looking like or being called, and also Diablo as well, apparently is leaking today, so looks like there's been some hacking going on. But you'll never hack us here at Helix Cloud Games because we have no generic passwords. But if you do want to help support the channel a little bit more, you can be a Helix Hero by clicking join below. From as little as 99p, you can get some of our shows early. Talking the PS, our weekly PlayStation podcast, you can get that early. Our weekly CloudQuest show, where no doubt at one point we're going to go away and talk about Ubisoft and everything going on at Ubisoft and what it means for the future. And if you want that early, you can join below. You can help support us like many of you wonderful folks do over there. Again, shout out to our new members, Smock Junior Gaming, Alex Gilbster, Ansel Brahim, Kringar, Lars Wright, Jepson, Zigbone88, Jinxage Gaming, Marcos Garcia, Feliz, and Humble. Thank you very much, guys. Alongside all the other wonderful Helix Heroes that we would definitely not be here without your continued support and encouragement to come back week in, week out and record out of our own time this amazing podcast, episode 153 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Don't forget as well, 1st of October, this coming Saturday, the 1st of October, we're going to be celebrating our 3rd year anniversary. We've got prizes, giveaways, and games fun, beers and pizza. We're not going to actually be giving away beers and pizza, I should stress that. The beer and pizza is for us.
You must purchase your own beer and pizza.
Yeah, terms and restrictions apply. You must purchase your own beer and pizza to play along with us.
You don't have to purchase one to enjoy the show, but it is recommended.
It is recommended. It makes things go a lot better. And we're going to be having a great day of streams and stuff. Again, our wonderful folks over in the Discord. Link is in the description below if you want to jump in. I know a couple of people have just joined this past week. We basically just hang out and talk about video games, Stadia news, cloud gaming news, movies, TV, life in general, people being tired. I think this week a couple of people on about work, what's going on there, and it's just one of those safe zones that if you're looking to connect with new people who are in the same hobbies as you, honestly, get in there. And yes, definitely check us out. And don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe. I know hundreds of you watch along. If you're listening on audio feeds, do rate the podcast. If you like any of our content, we can't stress enough how just clicking like down below or leaving a comment, it does help out with the algorithm. And we get consistent viewership here for the size of our channel, and we appreciate you all. But if you could just do that one extra little thing and either share the link or comment, or even if you just drop a smiley face emoji in the chat, it helps us in that algorithm and other people find our content. So we do as much as we can, but you, our awesome community out there, could do that little bit extra for us for free as well. But Richie, that has been it for the Stadia news for this week. I hope we didn't get too negative in the middle there. I know sometimes we go off on a tangent a little bit, but again, I'd like to think sometimes it is merited, and we're not going to sit here and act dumb like nothing's happening and everything's sunshine and rainbows, when sometimes it isn't. That's part of life, unfortunately. And guess what? The multi-million-dollar corporation could maybe do something else to make things a little bit sweeter along the way. But that's been it. Sounds of Stadia, episode 156. I've been Richie.
I've been Chris.
Almost got you with that one.
You did.
We've been Sounds of Stadia. Have a great week, folks, and remember, play whatever makes you the happiest. Take care. Have a good one.
Bye.